Hey review family, keep it high, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morris, Review Guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be doing an album review for 21 Savage's fairly new album entitled I Am Greater Than I Was. So 21 Savage had a very big 2017 and an even bigger 2018. In 2017 he released his debut album entitled Is a Album, which I had a very lukewarm opinion on personally. It debuted at number 2 on the Billboard Top 200 charts, and it did have some hits, it did have some bangers, but 21 just really wasn't someone that was really catching my attention all that much. And in late 2017, he dropped his collaborative effort Without Warning with Offset and Metro Boomin on production. I kinda like that one a little bit more. In my opinion, it's fast, it's in and out, it's not super bloated, and it's full of bangers. But that's coming from someone who really enjoys Metro Boomin's production all in all. And last year he achieved his top #1 single on the US charts on the back of Post Malone's track, Rockstar, one of the highly and most critically acclaimed tracks of 2018 coming off of Post Malone's album Beer Bongs and Bentleys. I'm a big fan of that track as well. It's very catchy, it's not really super intuitive, you don't gotta think too much about it, but it's a banger, it's a very heavy track, it's very nice, the flow is really nice, the beat is really murky, and overall it was just a great track. And that brings us to this album, 21 Savage's brand new album, I Am Greater Than I Was. It's over 50 minutes, 15 tracks, and that didn't really surprise me that much, as Is a Album was over 50 minutes as well. I believe it was about 56 minutes, and it had 14 tracks on it, so this isn't really something 21 Savage is really not really playing with. A lot of rappers have very long albums. It seems like there is no middle ground. You either have a very long album or a very short album. That's just how hip-hop is in general nowadays. Scratch that. Music in general is a lot like that nowadays. And I'm doing this review a bit differently. I'm going to just get my thoughts out of the good of the album and the bad of the album, and then I'm going to talk about the highlights and things that I liked. So let's get into it. So things this album does right. Firstly, I gotta say, the guest features on this album hit it out of the park. That's so rare on a rap album, to have an album with a ton of features and every single one to do really good. You have Schoolboy Q, you have Childish Gambino, you have Offset, you have Post Malone, you have J. Cole, you have Travis Scott, you have a lot of really great artists appearing on this album. Gunna, that really just wreck the stage, and they pull their weight. They don't feel like filler, they don't feel like they're just there to have a name, to have a tag, to have a paycheck. They genuinely pull their weight and add to the track they're on, which is so rare and so refreshing to hear some interesting features trying their best on these tracks. The lyricism on this album is pretty good. There's a lot of really damn good themes on this album. The album has a very good flow to it, and I'm not talking about the rapping flow or the singing flow. I'm straight up just talking how the album feels from start to finish listening to it. It flows very well for being very long. Something that I was a little concerned about is it feeling bloated like Is a Album did, in my opinion. But more on that when we get into the things that I don't think the album did good. There are some genuinely interesting beat choices on this album. Some are wonky, some sound a bit experimental, but none go so far off the beaten path that they're completely inaccessible. Nothing too experimental like Talking Earl Sweatshirt's album, some rap songs that he dropped in the tail end of 2018. Nothing like that. Some very interesting themes on this album when you take tracks like ASMR, which can come off as a bit wonky, but definitely admirable for how ballsy of a move it is to try to do a track literally about ASMR. Literally where you're whispering into the mic, like you're doing an ASMR video. But this album isn't perfect. These are the things that I don't think the album did very well. Unfortunately, I do think that at times, this project can feel a bit long, like certain things could have maybe been trimmed down, but not to the point to where it's unlistenable. I think that for the most part the guest features really do save these tracks when it comes to the flow of it, and I think that no track is unlistenable because you either are having 21 Savage with some interesting ideas or a feature that is doing pretty cool things as well. Vocally, I think 21 Savage can do better than this. He has really good flow, but he doesn't have some of the emotion I've heard before. He doesn't sound interested to be on his own tracks on this album. He just kind of sticks in this monotone rapping, and it's something that was present on Rockstar. It's part of 21 Savage's shtick. He's not known to be the most emotive rapper. I just think that he can do better than some of his performances where it is completely and totally obvious that he just has a paper in front of him, or a document or something, and he's just reading off of it. He's just reading the lyrics. He is rapping. He's doing pretty well at rapping, but he's just reading off of a script. He's reading off of his lyrics or someone else's lyrics or whatever. He's reading lyrics. It sounds like he is. It doesn't sound like he's truly feeling a lot of the things he says. The mix is a little disconnected, and that might just be me saying that, but it really feels like throughout this album, there are some genuine points where from track to track, the mix will sound completely different. It will sound very strange, and I'm not talking about a strange, like, signature or a strange type of sound, like with a different producer. I'm saying genuinely the equalization of the sounds of the vocals and the beat sound nothing like the other tracks, or the track that came before it or comes after it. But other than that, there's not really a complaint I have. A lot starts off the album in a pretty good way. I think that this is one of the tracks that exemplifies what 21 Savage does very well. He is monotone, he's pretty low in his register for even by his standards, but the lyrics really do make up for it, and the beat is simple enough to where it does pack a punch, and it's not really too in your face and too overbearing, because you don't want a super bustling beat if 21 Savage is just trying to tell kind of a emotional, introspective type of story, which happens a lot on this album, and he does it very well, I must say. That being said, all my friends, this is one of the best songs I've heard this year, if we're talking 2018. Post Malone and 21 Savage kill it. This is literally Rockstar Part 2. It sounds like a radio hit, and it's even more made that way by the fact that they literally reference 21 Savage's kind of meme in Rockstar where he's talking about the, why do you got a 12-car garage? Well, I bought 6 cars. Oh, I love that line because it goes to show two things. Number one, 21 Savage knows the memes. He stays up to date with the things that has to do with him. And number two, it's just funny. And it's not the only time 21 Savage comes off as an absolutely funny madman on this album. He's very funny, and he balances out the introspective, emotionally poignant edge to his music with the kind of funnier parts, the humorous parts. It's not like a Ski Mask of the Slump God with Stokely, where it's pretty much all humor, or Earl Sweatshirt, where he just kind of had an album that was very experimental and very kind of sad and forlorn, or Kids See Ghosts, where it was something in between with Kid Cudi and Kanye West. This genuinely, he balances out very, very well on this album. All My Friends has such a good beat. It genuinely sounds like someone made it with Rockstar in mind. Monster, track number 13, has a very sick beat. There's like 1,000 people on this track, and I get lost in a lot of them, but I must say, Childish Gambino literally could spit on a microphone and I would call it golden. I like Childish Gambino. I'm sorry. 4L really does end the album off on a really good note. Kind of like the starting track. It doesn't really get in your face. It's not that overbearing. It's pretty easy to listen to. It's very enjoyable. It has a nice beat to it, a nice flow to it, some interesting lyrics. And while the narrative of this album isn't really like full on from start to finish, like fully understandable, it's still a very good album lyrically. And all in all, I really enjoyed this album. Yeah, it can feel a little bit sluggish just because of the runtime, but it's hard to find an album that is this long and enjoyable from start to finish. So I'm just going to go ahead and recommend this album. I suggest you listen to it. A lot of people are calling it a classic. A lot of people are saying it's very good. A lot of people really digging into it. I'm going to be giving this album an 8 out of 10. But what did you guys think? You can post in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe. I have a new outro if you haven't seen it, so feel free to stay to the end to see my new intro, and I will talk to you guys next time. What were your thoughts of this album? My name is Jay Morris, Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.